Imagine you've just finished a weekend project. You went to Home Depot, you bought a classic black T1 mailbox, you dug the hole in your front yard, and you poured the concrete. You even hand-painted your house number on the side. By every definition of American property law, that object belongs to you. Except it doesn't. The moment you snapped that door shut and raised the red flag, you didn't just install a container for letters. You created a legal bubble. You established a sovereign outpost on your own curb. You see, while you own the metal, the plastic, and the wooden post, you do not own the empty space inside. Legally, the air inside your mailbox is the exclusive property of the United States Postal Service. And if you, or anyone else, places so much as a single unstamped flyer for a lawn mowing business inside that void, you have technically committed a federal crime. This is the story of how the post office conquered the American curb, and why a simple $20 box is the site of one of the most unique legal paradoxes in the United States, the Mailbox Restriction Law. To understand why your mailbox is a federal sanctuary, we have to look at 18 U.S. Code 1725. Most Americans interact with this law every single day without ever knowing its name. It's the reason your FedEx driver leaves packages on your porch instead of in the box. It's the reason the local pizza place sticks their menu in your screen door instead of the convenient metal slot at the end of your driveway. In the eyes of the law, the mailbox isn't a piece of furniture. It is an authorized depository. It is a secure federal handshake between the government and the citizen. Think about the visual tension here. You own the land, you own the box, but the Mailbox Restriction Law creates an invisible border at the threshold of the door. Crossing that border with mailable matter that hasn't paid its postal tax, otherwise known as a stamp, is a violation that can carry a fine of up to $5,000 per occurrence. But why? Why does the government care so much about a cubic foot of air in a suburban cul-de-sac? To find the answer, we have to travel back to a time when the American postal system was almost buried alive by its own success. It's 1934. The United States is in the grip of the Great Depression. Money is tight, and for the USPS, every cent counts. But there was a massive leak in their revenue. Local businesses, utility companies, and political campaigners realized they could use the vast taxpayer-funded network of residential mailboxes for free. Why pay for a stamp when you could just hire a teenager to walk down the street and stuff flyers directly into every box? By the early 30s, the system was reaching a breaking point. Letter carriers were arriving at homes only to find the mailboxes so jammed with grocery circulars and laundry advertisements that there was no room for the actual mail. It wasn't just a nuisance, it was a security risk. The sanctity of the mail was being diluted by the sheer volume of junk. So, Congress took a radical step. They didn't just ban the junk mail, they claimed the space. By passing the Mailbox Restriction Law, they effectively nationalized the interior of every residential mailbox in America. They turned the empty air into a revenue-generating asset. If you wanted to put something in that box, you had to pay the entry fee. You had to buy a stamp. For decades, people grumbled, but the law held. Until 1981, when a group in New York decided to fight back. Enter the Council of Greenberg Civic Associations. This was a nonprofit group that wanted to deliver newsletters to their neighbors. They argued that being forced to pay for stamps just to communicate with their own community was a violation of their First Amendment right to free speech. The case, United States Postal Service versus Council of Greenberg Civic Associations, went all the way to the Supreme Court. The argument was simple. It's my mailbox. Why can't I let my neighbor put a note in it? The court's ruling was a shock to many, but a victory for the USPS. They ruled that while a mailbox is private property, it is also an essential part of a nationwide system that requires uniform regulation. the justices decided that the government's interest in protecting postal revenue and ensuring the efficient delivery of mail outweighed the minor inconvenience of not being able to use the box for non-postal purposes. Essentially, the court confirmed the identity anchor of our story. The mailbox is a hybrid object. It is a private shell containing a federal core. Today, this law is the primary reason the USPS maintains a last-mile monopoly. In a world where Amazon, FedEx, and UPS are competing for every porch in America, the Mailbox Restriction Law is the post office's ultimate moat. Amazon can build a fleet of planes. They can hire 100,000 drivers. They can even build their own delivery lockers. But they cannot, under federal law, touch the inside of your mailbox. Think of the mailbox as a high-value real estate development. The post office is the only developer with the keys. This monopoly on the air ensures that even as letter volume drops, the physical infrastructure of the Postal Service remains protected from the clutter of 1,000 private delivery startups. So why does it happen? Why do you pay for the box but lose the air? Because in the American experiment, the common good often requires a small surrender of private control. The Mailbox Restriction Law isn't just about stamps or junk mail. It's a reminder that we are part of a massive, interconnected system. The next time you walk down your driveway, look at that box. It's a piece of 1930s industrial policy, a 1980s Supreme Court victory, and a modern economic moat, all wrapped in a $10 piece of sheet metal. You bought the box. You dug the hole. But the air? That's federal territory.